public interview to Tucker Carlson, and he openly repeated genocidal claims, which is a crime according to the UN Convention Against the Genocide. He said that there is no Ukrainian nation.
When Carlson went into that interview, it was evident that he was trying to point Putin in the direction of saying that the full-scale invasion was a response to NATO encroachment. Instead, to your point, Putin rattled off his pseudo-history and analysis of why.
Why Putin said that Ukrainians are not exactly a nation, and how Tucker from a interviewing point of view done his job, How could we treat these interviews as informational product, and what role this interview in global politics? It's kind of platform of speech or not bad interview at all, genius serious conversation, or kind of historian freaky show on a huge audience in difficult time. I have now seen videos to compare both the interview Tucker and Kier Simmons, but so it will be something new around this topic, I guess. Around this interview, so much issues, so much political responsibility, but there is no analysis at all. Did not Kier Simmons better in that? I mean, interviewing corrupt leader of dictatorship country with some nuclear weapon, There is a big question. Where is your tremendous question? So, here we go.
We have more now from Kier Simmons' exclusive interview with Vladimir Putin, his first U.S. television interview in almost 3 years.
In America, we call what you're doing now whataboutism. What about this? What about that? It's a way of not answering the question. Will you commit that you will personally ensure that Alexei Navalny will leave prison alive?
The question asked by Simon sounds direct and harsh. Putin's answer easily criticized. After Tucker's interview, it looks some rote and incorrect, but it's actually not. It is like shall to be when you interviewing a guy who justifying always his political behavior in international community in his interviews. Actually, what else does he have to do in this situation? He need understanding from our side. It's necessary for him, Cause more blame to his address, more complicated issue for negotiation. He need international recognition of his conquest. It's a fact. Yeah.
In the case of neighbouring Ukraine, earlier this year, the European Union said you had more than 100,000 troops on the Ukrainian border. Was that an attempt to get Washington's attention?
Look, did we say that we were planning to send our armed formations anywhere?
Yeah, of course they're not. Not saying that, but they do some invasion later in Ukraine. Here Simon asks clarifying question almost after every answer on Putin. In such condition, it is difficult to argue takes if it's not true, Which is why Putin repeat himself in his answers. And by this way we could reveal what he want to instill at the audience through the interview,
Will you commit now not to send any further Russian troops into Ukrainian sovereign territory?
We conducted war games in our territory. How can this not be clear? I'm saying it again because I want your audience to hear it.
75% of the forces that he staged around Ukraine, on the borders of Ukraine, are now inside the country.
Fake, that's all I want to say.
So you ask him about human rights, about Alexei Navalny, and he says, yeah, but what about the Capitol riots? I mean, that whataboutism came back again and again in the interview. And actually, when you see the full interview, I challenge him on it and say to him, we call that whataboutism. It's a way of not answering the question. I also challenged him that he consistently says that countries should not interfere in other countries' domestic affairs. And yet, over the years...
Look, political interviewing, more complicated process. It's not only about communication and some interesting topics, And this reason why a journalist is responsible for what he broadcasts to evidence in his interview. Not for what political leaders say, but how we react and maybe not enough criticize and challenge his takes if we're not well done in that. So if we're not, we talk about political responsibility in front of his own audience. That means more evidence you have, more professional guy you need to be. Or it will be some holy crap situation, Also from this point of view, it means I can be calm and say anything I fucking wanna. Hold on, I just kidding. Seriously. Yeah, I heard that anyone made some videos about Tucker's interview with Putin, but television there was obvious to me and boring as a result. Yeah, because when you kind of political science or you not take serious some debate area about Tucker Russian agent, he's not. I hope. I really not understand why Tucker do by the wrong boring way. Why Tucker do by the wrong boring way? Maybe he had some condition from Russian government or he have kind of another vision of that. I do not rule it out, but he could have done much better. Done much better. Yeah. It's simple. Because of complementarity of this interview, it seemed that Tucker was only a platform for the speech of Putin. This is normal state of affairs for the situation when famous but not professional interviewers do with some leaders the shit. I watched both interviews, Tucker's and Simmons, and more exciting for me was the last one.
Satisfied with the territory that you have now?
Нет, закончим. Вы же задали вопрос по неонацизму и денацификации.
I will finish answering the question. You just asked a question about neo-Nazism and denazification.
Замалчивается на Западе.
Look, the president of Ukraine visited Canada. This story is well known, but being silenced in the Western countries.
Спикер парламента.
The Canadian Parliament introduced a man who, as the Speaker of the Parliament said, fought against the Russians during the World War II. Well, who fought against the Russians during the World War II? Hitler and his accomplices. It turned out that this man served in the SS troops.
But if interviewing non-experienced guy, political leader will dominate in the conversation and instill his speech logical line all the time, not answer to your question. Would you be satisfied with territory you have now? What about denazification, bro? Yeah, it's kind of nasty question for him, Putin have simultaneously line of what he wanna push to American evidence, each way how it works. True or not, what he want to broadcast to evidence needs to be questioned as by interviewer. Yeah, and even from point of view, so it not look like more interesting. We know that Tucker is not a professional journalist, so it's also criterion that he did not well as showman too, I guess. But okay, serious question is, what kind of thesis Putin had? Successful or not? In that case, Kier Simmons does very well during his interview. He really challenged Putin and takes over his political technologies, but Tucker did not at all. He really looks like a platform of Putin's speech, not more. So let's analyze that part of interview, historical part. I guess in my videos it's not will be boring as in Tucker's interview.
In 1922, when the USSR was being established, the Bolsheviks started building the USSR and established the Soviet Ukraine, which had never existed before.
Right.
Really? Right. Are you sure about that? Actually not. Of course, Tucker doesn't know much about Ukrainian history, but he's a historian, okay, but for what reason support kind of this information if you're not sure? It's actually absolutely false, but okay. Actually, it's not okay, and I will explain why. So the Euroland came to power in Ukraine was 1921. What about Ukrainian monarch state? That's the direct name of the state, led by Pavlo Skoropadsky in 1918. Before any Bolshevik political agenda in Ukraine's territory And Crimea was under Ukraine that time. Imagine Putin's face if Tucker told him that. And even some part of Russia was under this Ukrainian state. For example, Kuban region. Yeah, but this fact is not help justifying war against Ukraine, and Putin forgot about this detail. By the way, this is the reason why in the mod Kaiserreich for Hoi exists Kingdom of Ukraine as a state, if you play that. Oh, only now I really realize that it seems like our advancement and yeah, it's not, because they don't have enough evidence yet. Tucker simply did not challenge what Putin says and even support it. He said, right, but it's not right, it's fucking false, and very dangerous not to admit it. It's not okay if you have so huge evidence at political topic of conversation, you have some political responsibility and you could make some political consequences, Yeah, for 200 million people, it's not necessary to know that this kind of details. And yeah, obviously for Americans people, it's not argue what happened in Ukraine hundreds or thousands of years ago. It couldn't to justify invasion now. This probably is miscalculation of Putin and his team at all, but Tucker make mistake too. He support this propaganda, he not challenge any thesis of Putin.
We're in journalism. Our duty is to inform people.
Actually, this historical lessons. It's not mean that Ukraine have rise to Cuban region, I guess. In any case, historical justification kind of not relevant in 21st century for normal people, I mean, because what about the Britain Empire in American lands before United States? Huh?
Services you would, that NATO, the US, CIA, the West did this. Why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States, because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media. The ultimate beneficiary of the biggest European media are American.
Build the future together. Let's remember who we are. We are the United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity.
Yeah, with cutting footage and the background, it sounds a answer, but it's not. Question was about evidence of that the United States bloomed Nord Stream. Another missed question by duty to inform people guy, Every professional journalist now. If interviewer not answering your question, whatever, go ahead, let him speak. You need to inform the people. Tucker seems like doesn't need Putin answers at all. So many, unasked, specifying question in the really right place. Yeah, really, very serious conversation. Yeah, of course. Holy crap, no, it's not. Look, Putin feels himself very comfortable, and from this it may follow that approach in interview is to let approach Putin thought be revealed. Yeah, it's okay. And it would be okay if not. Tucker's claimed in Friedman's podcast about this point. He thinks that if you make professional interview and a satcom you are not instrument in hand, it because of your young age, actually. What? Yeah, it's very interesting podcast. I recommend you to watch. Really.
Really?
Clarifying questions, I suppose they would.
I guess. I just wanted him to talk. I just wanted to hear his perspective. I'm not here to prove that I'm a great interviewer. It's kind of not about me. I want to know who this guy is. I think a Western audience, a global audience, has a right to know more about the guy, and so just let him talk.
Actually, in outcome, he became a free platform for the spread thesis for information warfare, not welfare. And information not was about the guy. Why he's saying that? Information was about politics, history, some social thing, not personal about guy. But he only let him to speak. It's about politically responsible, and he obviously not feel it, and I will explain why, but let him to talk, yeah.
If I had been, 34 instead of 54, I definitely would have done that.
Yeah, if I had been 34, not less, my video would be better, But it's explicitly pretty fucking huge nonsense. So he explained clarifying question as a mental need of journalists to realize themselves at a young age. This is only argument against Tucker because it turned that people are more productive at young age, not the other way around. It's not work that way, really. It's ignorant, dude.
My goal was, as I've suggested, was not to make it about me.
So he thinks that if you ask clarifying question, that means you do interview about you. What? And previously he said that audience need to know more about the guy. But in fact, the function of this question in the interview is to give the guest the opportunity argue his thesis and the audience take it or not. And the topic of conversation required just a such structure of communication, not fucking another. Yeah, so what Tucker did? This structure is broken there at all. Putin is simply speaking inaccurate information on his audience, and I know why he does it. Tucker even supported this claim without facts. It's ignorant, very ignorant full thing, I guess. Very fucking stupid, very huge. What?
Fake, that's all I want to say.
The inadmissibility of this is a militarism, genocidal claims, nature of this thesis, where the historian Tucker does not even understand and passed off as a fundamental true knowledge of Ukrainian conflict to his huge 200 million audience. Yeah, it's okay for him. Well fucking done. And let Putin to change Ukrainian history because Putin need Americans to think about this conflict as normal for human being, as some Russian issue in that land, etc. But in fact, it's invasion one souvenir country to another. Oh, I'm sorry. It's another footage. Where is it to confuse this fascist kind of stuff,
I watched, he hasn't done any interviews of any kind for years. But the last interview he did with an English-speaking reporter, Western media reporter, was like many of the other interviews he'd done with Western media reporters. Mike Wallace's son did an interview with him that was of the same variety, and it was all about him.
Well, if you watched video up to this point, you will know that and understand at least a little more how unfair world is, As journalist, Tucker sucked. As historian, Tucker sucked. And showman, not so much, but he sucked too. Yeah, we have a huge audience. I watched his interview too, but his interview have very dangerous signals about our society and could have political consequences. Maybe how, I'm not sure. The case when the product does not justify the demand. As a result, does not correspond to professional efforts of Tucker. I thought, doing an interview with Putin when the world on the verge of the Third World War, yeah, it's a good move. Really, not bad. But it's not a good move for society, audience, or world peace. In consequences of not enough professional capability of Tucker as journalist made interview, Russian propaganda reached a fairly wide range of American audience, and someone received millions for monetization for it. It is a pity that the interests of the world were not taken into account, but the account of Tucker fully had taken money and proud for his result, for his millions and millions evidence of his success. Evidence that the world did more show than the serious conversation. Well, as I said, if you watch the video up to this point, you will now understand at least a little more how unfair the world is. Make American content great again. Look, all information from this video are really verified, is very true. I really enjoyed to make this content for you. I really have so much ideas what I wanted to broadcast in YouTube and maybe into which platform sometimes. I have very serious topics and make a huge serious preparation to them. I have kind of feelings of responsibility for what I talk to you. For example, in this video I read so much material about Ukraine history and watched so much interview with Putin for comparing. So subscribe please, I need more fellows like you. Please, cause I need new micro.
Сеть наебал, бля, забыли. Да ты чё, бля? Вот сука хитрая, бля. А не Путин. Хуютин он, а не Путин. Не дал такие волосы. Я тоже, бля, как они. Я блэк, бля.